I did have a question though.
Go right ahead.
So I work in IT. We started doing real estate as a diversification, and I've probably told that story before. One question I have is, when do you determine if we're trying to do interest cancellation and clear up debt? We have the amortization schedule and calculator tools that we can use, but when do you decide that cash is king and just allowing it to be your cash purchase, or is it really about being able to diversify your funds when it comes to like real estate investing and doing cash out refinances and things of that nature?
I am so glad you asked that question because cash is not king.
Okay.
Cash is not king. A wise use of somebody else's money. All right. And do you know
Mhm.
how I know that, Miss Patrice?
How?
Because success leaves footprints.
Okay.
Okay. And so let me talk about somebody who knows that cash is not king. So I don't know where you live. So I'm going to go out in faith here. Downtown, what businesses have the tallest or largest buildings downtown where you live?
Yeah, that would be Reynolds America. So a tobacco company.
Tobacco company. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Because see, I don't know where you live. And they're downtown?
Yeah, it's just a small area, so they run everything here.
Okay. So what's the second largest buildings?
Mm.
Would they be your banks?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Wachovia. Yeah, our
Okay.
banks. Wells Fargo now. Still, I
Okay.
still call it Wachovia. Yep.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So here's the thing. Let's take a page out of the bank's book. All right. So did you realize that your bank is the biggest borrower in town?
No, I didn't really, but I know they borrow from our money that we put in there.
Ah, so when we give them our money, did you realize that in the paperwork? Now, I've opened up several bank accounts in my life. Do you know I've never read all the paperwork? Have you?
No, definitely not.
Okay, I've never read all the paperwork. But in that paperwork, they're actually saying that they're borrowing our money.
Okay.
All right. And then when you come to get it, we'll pay it back to you and we'll pay you some interest.
Hmm.
All right. So they're borrowing our money. All right. And then what are they doing with the money they borrow from us?
I would assume lending it out in loans and home loans or
Mhm.
business loans or whatever it may be, car loans, things of that nature.
So they're making big money with that money.
Hmm.
And how much are they paying us for the use of our money to make that big money?
Without a interest bearing checking account, nothing most times.
Okay. All right. So
And that's usually next to nothing too.
do you see where I'm going with this? If
Hmm.
cash were king, they'd be using their own.
I got you. I got you. Okay. Okay. That was a good way to put it.
Okay.
Okay.
Cash is not king. Leveraging somebody else's money wisely is the way to get this thing done. All right. And so what we want to do is kind of switch that thing around. If they can do that, can we borrow their money, get a big old benefit for using their money, and then pay them pennies on the dollar for the use of their money? Can we switch that thing around?
Gotcha. I think it's paying them back the pennies on the dollar that sometimes doesn't happen. But that's what I've been learning in the rooms,
Come on.
though.
That's what we want to do. We want to be able to manage how much we actually pay them for the use of their money. Now, they've got an idea. They want you to pay them back how much they want to be paid. All right. But that's only an ask. It's not a demand. Did you know that?
Yep.
All right. So if they're asking, that means we could say, no, we don't want to pay that. We want to pay 2/3 less. And we can do that. That's what we're talking about, Miss Patrice. So listen, thank you for bringing that to the stage. Just getting this information out is cathartic for me. It's like the Bible says, fire shut up in my bones. So you give me an opportunity to get this information out there so people can know the truth. And you know what the Bible says about the truth? The truth will do what? Come on, folks. Anybody?
Set you free.
Set you free. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Because the Bible also says that the borrower is slave to the lender. The borrower is slave to the lender. So if you
That
want,
is so true. I'm glad you made that point.
come
I
on.
get everything you're saying,
Mhm.
but there is a certain part where you're learning not to create debt. Your money doesn't work for you if it's just sitting in savings. So
Mhm.
my brain went to, if I'm using cash for investments and I'm using it properly, but then I got the flip side of that is, no, you shouldn't be using your own money. But now the way you just said it from the Bible, I'm enslaved back to the bank. I'm no longer have the freedom and flexibility. So that's where I've been trying to understand the
Okay, so
balance.
here's the balance. Here's the balance. Okay, so I've got on my screen now. I'm putting that up on the screen now. Here is the opportunity cost calculator that we're putting on the screen. This is what's going to help you to get the balance that you're looking for. And we're going to go through this. I'm going to be resetting our account. Now, we're going to talk about John and Rebecca Jones. Now, John and Rebecca Jones is a real couple. They, back in 2004, 2005, when we were getting this thing developed, they were one of the people who were helping us with the beta testing of the program. And so they allowed us to use their names, John and Rebecca Jones, a real couple. And we are taking some pages out of their book to show you what can go on in a typical household with this debt and how to pay it back. All right. So let's go over this right now. So listen, chime in anytime, Miss Patrice. Interrupt me and tell me when you can see what's going on. Can we do that?
Yes, I'm there.
All right. You can see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what we're talking about. What you're looking at now is the action plan. Now, in the action plan is what happens with most people do not do, even accountants. Okay. Accountants do it for other people. A lot of accountants don't do it for themselves, and that's called run a budget. Okay. Now, a budget is not restrictive. When we hear the word budget, it's tantamount to the word can't. But how we use budget, it means let's go ahead and just track how much you're spending. We just need to track it. Okay. Would that be okay just to track how much you spend on food, track how much you spend on electricity or gasoline or your mortgage or, clothing or anything else, vacations? We just want to track how much we're spending. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So this is what we do here. We're tracking how much we're spending. So John, and how much we're making. So the green numbers are their income. We're starting in the month of December here. And then here is the mortgage payment. So we're tracking that. Here is the average amount for the utilities. Here's a paycheck for Rebecca. All right. So we're tracking the income and the expenses for the month of December, including this money here, $1,300 every single month. And in this number, Miss Patrice, is what we call fun money for the family. We put in fun money as something that goes into the budget first, not last. How much are we spending to make memories with the family? How much are we spending on some fun every single month? Let's put that into the budget, and then we'll track it and see if we can stay within that framework. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, so now we got all of that in. So that is called the action plan, where we're tracking everything. Let's go into here. So now we get to see in the budget tab how much John is making. John makes $950 every 2 weeks. Rebecca is paid weekly, $700. So their average income is 5,000 over here to the left, $5,091.66. Their average monthly expenses. Now we put in the average because the electric bill or the gas bill or how much we spend on food, it's not the same every single month. So we want to track it. But here's the average. The average is $3,760.39. So they have an average left over after all the bills are paid and after they've had their fun, $1,331.28. Now, what happens with most families after they've had their fun and after they paid all their bills, they keep spending. And that's why it feels like paycheck to paycheck. But if we're tracking it and we put in that we want to spend for our family 300, 400, whatever it is, we want to spend this for fun. And you put that in. Do you know what generally happens with the families I work with when they put in X amount of dollars for fun? Do you know what generally happens when we do that?
They usually, when I try to do it, I felt like I was spending too much money for fun and
Okay.
thought I'd pull back. I don't know if that's the same scenario that you had.
Exactly. They look at that and for some reason they don't spend as much.
All right.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. and it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.